It's been revealed that NHS bosses are destroying the careers of whistleblowers who stand up for patient safety by whacking them with multi-million-pound legal cases. So in damning revelations of NHS scandal on top of scandal, a Daily Telegraph investigation uncovered that more than 50 talented doctors and nurses who claim that they have lost their jobs, with some driven to the brink of suicide, by the way, as bosses sought to bury their concerns about upwards of 170 patient deaths. One consultant described it as the biggest scandal within our country and said that the true number of avoidable deaths was astronomical. Instead of trying to fix the problems, whistleblowers claim that NHS chiefs have spent millions of pounds of your money, taxpayers' money, hiring law firms and private eyes to investigate them, the whistleblowers. In one case, the NHS spent more than £4 million on legal action against one single whistleblower, which included $3.2 million in compensation. And campaigners say this is happening up and down the country. I'm joined now by ex-consultant urologist surgeon, Dr. Peter Duffy, himself an NHS whistleblower, who's the chairman of a group representing whistleblowers as well right across the UK. Look, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Something that I think people had long suspected was happening, but now we can confirm is indeed happening. How bad is this problem? Can you give me some examples, please? And what kind of thing are they trying to cover up?
It is a really big problem. I should make it clear I'm the chair of the healthcare section of Whistleblowers UK, because, of course, whistleblowing isn't just restricted to the health service, but I think it's one of the biggest areas where whistleblowing is most relevant. And that's a huge problem. I think one of the figures that came out of the Telegraph article this morning was that one law firm, just that one law firm, had, I think, 1,600 NHS whistleblowing staff on its books who'd suffered some sort of detriment or dismissal for their whistleblowing. So this is not an isolated issue. There are literally thousands of us out there who have suffered just for trying to do the right thing.
OK, and can you just play it out for me, how it works? So there's some kind of scandal that takes place. A patient maybe died when they shouldn't have died, and a member of the NHS staff wants to come forward and say, look, this was wrong, what happened here, things need to be held to account. And then what? The NHS top brass pile in and try to cover it up?
You will usually get shut down in some way or other. So in my own particular case, I did speak out for a number of years, but I only did so internally. And I think it's when you go external that the real retribution begins. And I did that in the summer of 2015. So we'd had an avoidable death. And then on top of that, we had an act of disobedience to the local coroner. And at that point, you have to make that binary choice between either going with the cover-up or going to an external authority. So I went to the Care Quality Commission, and the Care Quality Commission tackled the trust about it in October, and the detriment started immediately. So that month, my pay was cut. And then we haven't got time to go into the whole sort of sequence of events that tends to happen, but you are essentially forced out of your job. So demotion, disciplinary action. And in the summer of 2016, I was hit with a threat to go back through my previous earnings, recouping monies. And of course...
Sorry, I just don't understand that. I really don't understand how that's legal. It's not.
Well, it isn't legal. But I think the problem is that your only real redress is through the employment tribunal system. There's a 2-year wait for that. And in the meantime, the trusts can do what they want. So like many other whistleblowers who've been put in this situation, I wasn't going to stick around to have a retrospective pay cut. So you resign, you leave, and then
and the problem doesn't get dealt with. And this is the thing. So in going around the houses and doing absolutely everything, including just splashing millions of pounds of taxpayers' cash everywhere, by the way, to try to cover it up, it means they don't deal with the problem. So presumably more people die.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's one of the biggest flaws of employment law at the moment, and the way that these sort of cases are interpreted. It turns into this terrible dogfight between the whistleblower and the solicitors who are brought in by the NHS, often at huge expense. And it's a real David versus Goliath thing. And in the meantime, of course, all the wrongdoing is simply forgotten about in the bloodbath that ensues with all the legal goings on.
And look, just finally with you, a lot of people out there watching this or listening to this right now will have serious reservations about whether or not they had a relative, a loved one in the NHS who did die or come to some serious harm as a result of medical negligence or a medical mistake. They might have relatives in there now and they're suspicious of what's going on. How worried should they be?
I think the vast majority of NHS staff do a really good job, often under really very difficult circumstances. So I'm certainly not here to criticise in a sort of blanket fashion the whole of the NHS. But there is no doubt the NHS can do better, much better. The figure of 11,000 avoidable deaths is one of the more conservative ones that I've seen. Now, that you have to put that into the context of the millions of people that are dealt with by the NHS. But even so, that's 11,000 too many. And we're not going to make inroads into that until we do something about the background treatment of whistleblowers in the NHS.
Well, I'm very, very sorry that you had to be a whistleblower to begin with. I'm very sorry that the treatment then of you was so appalling afterwards. And I would like to thank you for being brave and for sticking your head above the parapet and hopefully trying to get some change sorted, because I've got no doubt whatsoever that your main motivation for doing that is to make sure that more people stay alive. So thank you very, very much. That is ex-consultant urologist surgeon there, Dr. Peter Duffy, who is an NHS whistleblower. Right, look, Aaron Cummings of the University Hospital of Morecambe Bay NHS Foundation Trust is the chief executive. He said this: there are a number of ways for staff to raise concerns, including via the Freedom to Speak Up Guardian scheme. He added, there is still a lot more work we need to do, but we are all committed to fostering an environment where raising concerns is prioritised and respected as an essential part of our core business model. There's also a NHS spokesperson here who said, it is completely unacceptable for any member of staff to feel silenced or unable to speak up about issues affecting them or patients. Not only should everyone working in the NHS feel they can raise concerns, but they must know that they will be acted on and that they will be treated fairly. That is vital for ensuring that the NHS learns from mistakes and provides the best possible care for patients. Every NHS trust should be adopting the updated National Freedom to Speak Up policy. And NHS England has recently asked all local areas to urgently ensure staff have easy access to information on how they can raise concerns, including through having a dedicated Freedom to Speak Up Guardian in place. I know that that story will mean a heck of a lot to a lot of our viewers and listeners who regularly get in touch with me and discuss with me poor care, poor treatment and, frankly, malpractice and negligence that they feel in the NHS.